Today's episode of the E&G podcast is sponsored by our good friends at Clothing by Owl. All you Bachelor fans will recognize this name as they are the company behind the hugely popular Wine, Bachelor, and Yoga Pants tank top. What you may not know is that they give back a percentage of every item sold to Animal Rescue, and that notable Bachelor alums like JoJo Fletcher, Caitlin Bristow, Lauren Bushnell, Ben Higgins, and Nick Vale are all huge supporters. We're happy to offer our listeners 20% off when you visit clothingbyowl.com. Simply add the discount code ENG, that's EANDG, to save on all your Bachelor gear. And be sure to follow them on social media at Clothing by Owl. Ian and I are super excited about this week's guest. We have an exclusive interview with the one and only Robby. That's right, he's in the top 2. He's still on the show, and he made time for the E&G podcast. We asked him some great questions. He gave us a little bit of inside info, some fun stuff here and there, some things he had to pull back he can't talk about yet. Who knows? He might be Mr. JoJo Fletcher. He could win. Maybe he wins. Maybe he loses. I don't know. Do we find out on the podcast? You guys have to listen to find out. Do you think there was any chance when you saw the 2 roses and just you and Jordan, she would say, Robby, will you accept both these roses? And then the show just ends abruptly?
No, I didn't see that, but that would have been nice, right?
That would have been good.
That would have been neat.
Perfect, man. So, Robby, a question that we've been getting to from our listeners is what happens behind the scenes, right? Because a lot of times you'll see you do a cutaway where you're talking to the camera. JoJo last night, for example, she's telling the camera, I'm in love with Robby. Is that a topic that's out of bounds when you guys are having that alone time in the fantasy suite?
Yeah, they, there's a lot of the reason you can't maybe travel from place to place with them when you're on dates with them is because they want all the important stuff on camera, just like it should be, so that the world sees it and it doesn't get missed by the camera. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that they say hold off, don't talk about that yet. Let's talk about it later when the cameras are rolling. But it is authentic. If it comes up, maybe we'll just wait to talk about it at a later time.
Definitely, man. Definitely. And another thing too. So you truly went from what it seemed like a dark horse to a front runner in dramatic fashion. That was in Uruguay. It was the episode really that a lot of people mention as being the coming out party for Robby. We think, Jeff and I were talking about this, that you were kept in the background at first as all the Chad and the Evan stuff was playing out. Are we off base with that? Did you guys have a relationship?
No, you're completely right. And we had a really quick relationship. I tell people, because this is kind of how I went about it, is I wasn't really in the first few episodes that much. I did a lot of narration and stuff, but that's because I refused to dive into the Chad stuff. I wasn't there for the kid. I was there for JoJo, and I wasn't going to involve myself in that so that they could possibly cut it any way they wanted to. So I kind of avoided all that, avoided the drama, and then, of course, when Chad gets kicked off, the next episode I get my one-on-one and we take off. But they showed my first kiss at that pool party, which was episode 4. That was our 5th, I think. There was a lot that hadn't been shown.
So it was mostly just editing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was telling Ian early on. I was like, I think this Robby guy, they're just not showing him. And at some point, all of a sudden it's going to seem like he came out of nowhere, but I don't think he's really coming out of nowhere.
Game changer, yeah. It did take off after Uruguay, and I started getting a lot more time.
And this is when I became a big fan of yours. I don't know if there's a question here, but when you had to talk to who those 2 guys, was it in Uruguay or Argentina, Ian, where you were talking to James and Chase, and they were talking, Taylor was kind of insecure, and then you were like, guys, I don't know about you, but I feel like I am the front runner. And I told Ian, I was like, that's how I'd be on that show too. And you were telling them stuff like, you don't know what goes on when you're not around.
That's the thing, and a lot of people miss that, is that, everyone keeps saying, oh, Jordan's a front runner, Luke's a front runner, this and that. And, James and Chase are just saying that based off looks or, how the guys carry themselves. Well, you don't see the other guys' dates. You don't go on Jordan's one-on-one with him and Joe. You don't go on Luke's one-on-one with him and Joe. You don't see how they interact. All you know is how you interact with her. So I'm sitting there saying, how do you know they're front runners? And if you're not a front runner or you don't believe you are, then why are you here? Like
Right.
I had confidence in my emotions and what I had developed with JoJo to that point that I really didn't think anyone had developed the feelings that we had developed in such a quick amount of time. So I did think I was a front runner. And I just, honestly, I never used that word. It was the first time I used it there because I was so sick of hearing other people say it. And then they made it look like I was just yelling out front runner here and there and everywhere.
Yeah. And for them, it kind of came off. I mean, we talked about this already before on other podcasts, but James Taylor seemed like this great guy, and he was fun. And we were like, he's cool, man. He's confident. He's not like as good looking as the other guys, but he's confident. And then all of a sudden, his confidence just went out the window, and he became super insecure. And that's why I like when you gave him that talk, because I was like, yeah, man, that's kind of more honest. Like, you don't really know what's going
I was like,
on. And
dude, there were 26 guys and now there's 5 and you're still here. Like, you're here for a reason, and quit talking about other people being front runners. Yourself should be the front runner and the only one here. Like, I had tunnel vision the entire time. It's like JoJo was at the end of the tunnel and all the other guys in drama were just white noise on the side.
so, because the editing was the way it was, when did your connection with JoJo really take off? Because obviously we didn't get to see exactly when it really happened. Was it immediate? Because we know Jordan got like first impression rose or whatever. So when did you really start to take off with JoJo?
Yeah, it was. It was immediate for me. Obviously, when I got out of the limousine, it was as love at first sight as you can get. But it developed in a way that I had a great first week with her, the firefighter date, and then they didn't even show my alone time with her that night at the cocktail party, which is when my first kiss was. And then the next week, I didn't get a date, and not getting that date, really upset me. I was disappointed. I was questioning our first week and everything, and knowing that she brought those feelings out of me made me realize how much I cared about her. And so then the next week when I did get the date, and then the one-on-one 2 weeks later, we had always been on a steady incline, and it just took off. It just started going. So,
What does that feel like?
Took a little negativity to pull out that for me to realize that, I'm feeling for this girl.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder, can you describe a little bit, because you just kind of mentioned it, what's that feel like when you do have this alone time or you do have a moment with her and you're like, oh, we definitely connected. I'm a guy. I've connected with girls before. I know what's going on. And then you don't get a date or you don't get whatever. And, what goes through your head during that? Do you realize it's just the show, or are you getting...
Oh, it was tough. It was hard not hearing my name on the date card. And then especially when Chris Harrison walked in at the end of that week and said, there's not going to be a cocktail hour. We're going to go straight to the rose ceremony. I dropped to my knees. I was like, no, I need that time. I need to talk to her this week. Literally dropped to the floor. And then he turned around and said, but she is going to come up today for a pool party. So we had that, and I did get some time. So that gave me a little more confidence going into that rose ceremony. But it's hard, man. It's difficult watching all the other guys get to go on dates and you don't get one that week.
Right.
So, Robby, jumping back to JoJo, just as we're talking about this, were you familiar with her prior to going into the season? Had you watched The Bachelor, Bachelorette? What was your experience with the franchise?
So I had watched, I've watched one season. I watched Emily Maynard's season just because I thought that girl was beautiful. But I had not, I watched the beginning of JoJo's season and the end of it. When I realized that I was kind of going through the process to possibly be on the show, I didn't want to watch whoever the next Bachelorette might be potentially fall in love with another guy. So I kind of stopped middle in the season so that I didn't have to see that, and then picked back up the end so I could watch, her family and see who was being announced at the final rose after last season.
So you had a sense of where her relationship was at with Ben. Obviously, it was a huge drama because he said he loved her and everything else. Yep. Was that a concern going into the season? Wow, this girl just got out of something serious with this guy.
Well, as if I'm sure you've been watching, that I kind of was in the same position. So
totally.
I think that's why JoJo and I were able to relate. We had just gotten out of a relationship where we were in love, and it was quick, but the turnaround, people make a big deal about the turnaround, the time between relationships. And yeah, you're heartbroken when something great that you had for however long it was ends, but not putting yourself out there is not going to help the situation either. And so I learned, hey, let's not rule out any avenue to find that one person. And when the show came knocking and said they wanted to fly me out in March, I said, let's do it. Let's go. So
No, man, that's perfect. And that was part of getting you on the pod. Like, we didn't want to sit here and dwell on your past. You've explained yourself a number of times on the show. And Jeff and I had a discussion last week because I found myself, just to make it personal for a moment, in a similar relationship where you're out of a relationship, you fell out of love. But it takes a little while, right? It takes a little while for it to catch up. And then you make the move. And there isn't like this long grieving process, right? You're not caught up with like, you're over it. You're over it.
Yeah, and I'll give you some inside information on that real quick, and then we can just move on past that. But
perfect.
We had broken up in March of last year, and we're broken up for about 6 months and tried to pick it back up in September. It was long distance, and it just didn't work. And so when I say like the relationship was over 9 months before it even ended, it was. Like we were trying to force something that wasn't going to happen. Changes that needed to be made weren't being made. And so, the straw that broke the camel's back, you heard on the show when I got slapped, I was just, this is it. I'm wasting my time. I'm 27. I need to get out there and find the person that I am going to spend the rest of my life with.
Absolutely.
Why do you think, we only see a little bit on the show, but whatever it is your ex is doing or your ex's roommate, what's the motive that in your head that you think is why they would do that?
I really have no idea. And she sent me a long text apologizing, and it seemed very genuine. I as you can imagine, I'm kind of over it and wanted to move past it. So right. I just said, thank you, I appreciate it. And that was that. But I'm not sure where it came from. Like I said, when I got to my hometown, I got to my house, I hadn't heard about it. So that's why my mom felt the need to bring it up, because she wanted me to know that there was stuff swirling around. And then just like following in my mom's footsteps, she wanted me to know. I wanted to be the guy to tell JoJo, just in case she hadn't heard about it, because we're not really connected to the outside world when we're on the show.
Dude, your mom, by the way, I'm not just saying this, she seems like such a nice lady. I love your mom was great. She was like, I got to talk to you. There's some shit that's being talked. You need to confront this.
She's the rock of the family.
Okay, so about your ex, just one more question. Chad apparently posted some stuff where he's with your ex, and obviously you don't care, but what's going on with that? Is this guy, instead of finding Jordan after the show, he's finding your ex?
It's a publicity stunt. I mean, he did it with Grant Kemp's ex. Did you see that one?
Oh, I did not see that one.
Yeah, he posted an Instagram with Grant Kemp's ex, and it said, Mr. Steal Your Girl's back again, or something like that. So he's just trying to stay relevant. And it didn't, like you said, it didn't bother me. If anything, he did me a favor. You know, all the U.S. Weekly magazines saying I'm a two-timer or whatever it is on the front cover are null and void now, because they see her true colors and his true colors. Like, I tell everyone, the guy did me a favor by doing that.
What was your opinion of Chad when he was in the house? Because we've talked about this too, and we've asked a couple of the guys we've interviewed already that have been on the show, and we've got pretty much the same answer. But was it editing to make him look crazier than he really is, or is he really kind of that aggro? Or what was your take on him? I know you said he had tunnel vision.
He's that kind of dude. But with that being said, the show does take the person you are and kind of amplify that, because you're getting backed into so many different corners that whatever character traits you carry as a person are amplified on that stage. But, I was indifferent about the kid up until the point where he physically threatened Jordan and, made the comments about Alex being a midget and Jordan being a washed-up football player. I was like, I even told producers, I was like, give me some one-on-one time with Chad. We'll do a man chat. We'll talk. I want to get to know this kid a little bit. Everyone's giving him a hard time. But after he did that, I had no interest. I was like, screw it. I'm not doing that shit anymore.
Yeah, that was weird when he called Jordan a washed-up football player, because it's like he did play pro football. I mean, that's pretty cool. Even if he didn't get to play for 10 seasons, he still played pro football.
He was
pretty
drafted.
Cool.
He was on 3 teams, rosters. He holds a whole bunch of records at Vanderbilt. Like, guy's a stud.
Yeah.
And Robby, man, you're a stud too. And The Bachelor loves to do this, right? They like to give contestants random titles, like Brandon was a hipster.
You know how much shit I've gotten for that.
Competitive swimmer. It's like, dude, you were an Olympic level competitor though, right?
Yeah. And I went back to the trials in Omaha a few weeks ago to see all my friends and support them, and it was awesome going back. That was the last time I had swam back in 2012, and so my last lap in the pool competitively was 2012. The summer, and then they choose to put that as my title. Like, I was regional sales manager of the entire East Coast for the pool building company who builds the Olympic pools. So my company, my last jobs was getting the the project for Rio. So we're building all 9 pools in Rio for the Olympics.
Man, I told Ian, they say former competitive swimmer. I'm like, there's no way this guy is just still hustling swimming pools, like racing people for $50 at a time. No. Like he has to have a real job.
Yeah, they like to build the character roles, and so they'll say all sorts of stuff like that. But it's been a pain in my ass.
So, and just kind of to back it up a little bit, we've talked to some guys, as Jeff mentioned. But what was your process for getting on the show? Were you discovered? So we talked to Christian, who's a great guy.
Christian's my dude, great guy. I spent 4th of July with him up in LA.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you were just out here, right? In Cali as well?
I went to stay with Alex YQ. So we spent some time in San Diego where he was one of my closer friends on the show. So we went up, and James S., Christian, Brandon, Alex, myself, Shoshana from Ben's season, and there's one more. Ollie from my season. We're all in LA for 4th of July.
Oh, nice.
So are you friends with these guys and maybe some contestants on this season? Like, who are you friendly with still from the show?
My best friends on the show were definitely – Jordan was my roommate the entire show. We were always together. And then Chase and Alex.
Did you guys choose your roommates, or they paired you up?
We choose when we start traveling. They pair you up in the house.
Man, so what's that like? Because you guys are the last 2. And you guys are probably – two of the closest.
It was weird. We stayed close. So when you start traveling towards the end of it, they separate you completely. So they you don't see them, but only at the rose ceremony. So, but I mean, as you can see, you saw at the rose ceremony. We mess around with each other, we high five, give each other hugs and stuff. He's my boy. I wish I could see him more, but due to the circumstances, it's a little difficult.
Yes, man, that's got to be very strange where you're competing against somebody that you're actually very close friends with. I mean, if JoJo chooses Jordan, are you happy for Jordan? If she chooses you, are you excited for you, but you feel bad for your boy? Like, how's that work?
Honestly, for me, it wasn't about myself or Jordan. I wanted her to be happy, and what choice that was up to her. And as long as it's the one that fulfills her happiness, then I'm happy for her, because I really did develop, a strong, unconditional care for that girl.
Right.
Another thing, Robby, so you hear like the canned line. It's like a famous Bachelor line. I'm here for the right reasons. It definitely seemed like you were 100%. That's how you came off on the show. Do you think that's the case for most of the guys there, or even all the guys, or is it really mixed?
I think it is. I think almost all the guys there are great guys. Like it was weird how much we all got along. And I mean, I can't speak for Chad. I don't know why the hell that guy was there or what he thought he was going to accomplish. But all the other guys, definitely think that everyone was there for the right reasons.
And kind of speaking to that as well, in terms of being well-rounded, again, they portrayed you and they showed you in a good light, which was a good mix of fun and serious, and you guys had a great connection with JoJo. Whereas someone like Luke, who was definitely a front runner for the entire season, he was shown as being serious pretty much the entire time. Like, was that?
And he kind of is, He doesn't. Okay. We used to give him shit in the house. Be like, Luke, how about you just smile for once? Like, how about you show us a smile real quick? Because he's always kind of, he slept a lot. Luke's a good guy. I like Luke a lot. But yeah, he was always pretty serious.
All right, I have another question for you, Robby. What you're obviously one of the most popular guys on the show. You're the final 2. You're obviously getting recognized from the show. I want to know if you have any crazy fan interaction stories or people hitting you up on social media. I know it's so easy. It's somewhat accessible. What's some funny stories or people on the street? Anybody breaking down and crying when they see you?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's probably the craziest thing that's happened. Seeing a girl just walk up to you and like do this one and just start crying. I'm like, oh my God. Like, have you seen the video of Heath Ledger when the fan's freaking out and she's doing this and he just grabs her and starts making out with her and she stands up and just passes out? Like, that would be funny. But girls crying, Starbucks and Publix are the worst. You always get stopped for pictures, which is fine. I love doing that with people, but it's been crazy. I went to a Braves game actually a couple weeks ago, and I was about 5 rows in with some buddies, the way it kind of works is once one girl gets up the courage to come ask you for a picture, all the others who maybe weren't sure if it was me or were too embarrassed to ask build up the same courage. And so it's like a snowball effect.
Right.
And so at the game, this poor family next to me had to keep standing up, sitting down, stand up, sitting down. I ended up buying them all beers because I felt so bad that they had to keep getting up for these pictures in the aisle.
Right. What so any weird people writing you on social media?
Oh, yeah. A lot of people slide into the DM, and it's scary sometimes.
Is it?
I had a really funny one actually.
Okay.
One girl sent me a picture of a lamp, a couch, and a bed, and she said, "I just moved into your DMs." I was like, "That's really clever." I like that.
It's the most clever serial killer ever.
It's pretty good, right?
So how did you get on the show? Because we asked the guys we've interviewed so far, and everybody has a totally different story. So we're just interested.
I'm sure mine's gonna be different too. I think. I broke up with my ex over Christmas break, right around that time frame, and my family's really close, as you can see in the hometown episodes. We're loud. We're all about each other. We're very close, and so my sister, I guess, could tell, was like obviously a little bit upset about the breakup, and I guess she took it upon herself to nominate me. But the nomination came about because my brothers and I had some fun on Instagram, posting a picture of us in Christmas onesies, and we're kind of like, they're kind of half on, half off with our abs showing. We've got a croquet set.
Those are your brothers?
Yeah, those are my two brothers.
I saw that. So everybody's in great shape?
Yeah. Well, we were all swimmers. We all swam in college.
Jeez.
Hey.
Yeah, so those are my brothers, and we had fun with that. And then Bros Being Basic account actually reposted it, and it kind of went viral. And ABC Bachelorette account commented on it and said, "Nice." And so I guess my sister was like, "Oh my God, they noticed you." And she took it upon herself to nominate me. And like 3 weeks later, towards the end of January, I woke up to a phone call from California, not knowing what the hell was going on.
So it was all from just the picture?
Pretty much. The picture kind of started that up.
Because Christian said he like broke some guy's arm in an arm wrestling match, and that's how he got on. And
Really?
Yeah, and Sal said I think his friend was going to be on. They liked his friend, and then he got in a relationship, and then he said, "Oh, do you know anybody?" He said, "Yeah, my buddy Sal." So that's how he got on. So it's very interesting how you guys have different ways of getting on.
Yeah, that's funny.
So, Robby, what was it like that first night in the house? Like when you're just getting like acquainted to the experience and all the cameras, and you get out of the limo and you meet her. Like, just explain that to everybody.
That was the most nervous I've ever been. And it's it lasts till like 9:30 in the morning. You can see when the guys leave, it's bright out. Like we film all night long, and of course you're drinking the whole time. Taking a couple shots in the limousine just to ease the nerves, and so it's ongoing. I mean, if you go back and watch the first episode, you can see it in my eyes at the rose ceremony that I've got the drunk eyes going. But it's crazy, man. Like, I wasn't too drunk. Like, I remember everything, but I don't remember any of my time spent with her. It was so quick. I was so nervous. I blacked out, not from the alcohol, just from the excitement.
Just like the overall experience. I mean, that's kind of what you expect.
Yeah.
I bet. And coming into the show, so do they just provide you guys with drinks that entire time? By the way, is it just an open bar, essentially?
Yes. There's never a shortage of alcohol.
I'm sure they promote that, I bet. So one other question that Jeff and I have discussed is, so you always look like $1 million on the show. And I've brought up some fashion plays on the past podcast. How much freedom do you guys have in your wardrobe? Like, do they tell you guidelines, or do they give you clothes to wear? How does that work?
They don't give you any clothes. It's all your own stuff. In the house, we did our own laundry. It's whatever you want to do, but pretty much you just can't really have any busy patterns because it doesn't look good on camera.
Gotcha.
It kind of messes with the scene and stuff, and no big logos.
Damn. So just to clarify, then, for everybody, those are all your clothes. This is your style, then.
Those are all my clothes, man. I like dressing up. I really do like dressing up. You see that 3-piece suit last rose ceremony?
Exactly, man. I've been saying you're the best dressed guy there since the jump, basically. So that's good to hear. I like that.
Yeah, I own probably close to 35 suit jackets.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I noticed you're wearing a hat right now, and my friend who said she went to college with you and kind of knew you, and she said you dated her friend. I think she said her friend's name was Stephanie Olin.
I talked to Stephanie. We never officially dated, but she was like one of the first persons that, when I got to Florida State, I was on the swim team, so I wasn't sure if I could juggle fraternity life. So I waited a year, and I ended up rushing, and I got into that side of the campus. And she was like one of the first sorority girls I started hanging out with, and she, she invited me to one of her date functions, and we We hung out a lot. Yeah, Stephanie's awesome. I like Stephanie a lot.
First off, I love whenever a female tells me, "Oh yeah, my friend dated this guy," and then I ask the guy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we were friends." It's
I mean,
no, it's the same.
We went to a couple date functions together,
Right.
so we were kind of regular, but I don't think we ever officially made it a title.
And okay, so I brought up your hat because my friend Allie also said that you were known as Robby with the hat because you always wore hats. And
Always wore a hat.
And I'm kind of like that too. I always wear hats. I mean, I'll do my hair if I have to, like when I go on stage and stuff. But so you always wear hats, but then when you don't wear hats, you have like perfect hair. Your hair is always perfect.
Well, that's such a sensitive subject because in college the chlorine just destroyed my hair. Like I used to have to put Vaseline on my eyebrows to keep the chlorine off them because I was losing my eyebrows. They were getting fried by the chlorine in the pool because I'm in the pool 5.5 hours a day. Like
right.
my hair was getting ruined and fried and falling out. And so I always wore a hat in college, and I had kind of long hair. But now the hat's just easy. And when I was on the show, you obviously can't wear hats. So I've kind of grown out of the whole hat thing, but I'll wear it around the house like I am now. But no, my hair is just I use a couple products, get it up there, and let it flow in the wind. Actually, it doesn't really flow in the wind, but it's up there.
How much time? This is kind of a little off topic, but after you stay in the suite or whatever with JoJo, how much time do they give you before they bring the cameras back in? Because it's just funny because you guys are positioned in bed and your hair is fucking perfect, and I'm like, no way, this guy slept on a pillow.
I don't know how much sleeping I did, but it was. They give you some time. They tell you when they're coming, when breakfast is coming. They usually send breakfast first, and then they'll come strolling in, do their thing, and get it all set up.
All right.
Yeah, I can't give away too much of it, But
Right. Also, besides Robby with the hat, I also heard you were known in Greek life as a face guy. Can you explain what that is?
So the fraternities kind of have what was called a face team. As dumb as that sounds, it was called a face team. So there's like usually 4 or 5 guys that will go to the sororities and invite them to your philanthropies, or go to the sorority and sing them a song and bring them roses for dinner, just to be on good graces in case you want to court them for homecoming or something like that. And you always had to have somebody represent your fraternity in like Delta guy, DG Man of the Year or something like that. And so I did a lot of those like man pageants to try to be the representative for the sororities as a whole. But yeah, that was kind of it. So we'd be the team that would go around and try to get the girls to be Lambda Chi advocates.
Okay. Ian, you have another question or no?
No, keep it going, man. Keep it going.
Okay, I have a question for you, Robby.
Sure.
I know you can't give away too much, but first off, if there's anything you can give away, go for it. And second, if Jordan is chosen by JoJo and they came to you and asked you to be the Bachelor, would you be open to it or not?
I can't answer that.
You can't answer that one. Okay.
Can't answer that one.
Okay. Ian, do you have a question there?
Well, that's the thing, man. We wanted to obviously not get you in trouble, but is there anything you can share about next week that is kind of an open subject? Anything just to kind of tease the episode?
What will you be wearing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, there's a bathing suit involved, so that'll be good for the viewing pleasure. But the date's gonna be fun. It's beautiful. We moved from one location where we're at, where it's more of a hustle and bustle, to another location where it's more of a tropical paradise. But it's going to be fun, and it will not disappoint. It'll be epic.
So, Rob, one other question too, and this is just maybe like more of a personal question, but Jeff and I always comment because it's hilarious. Every time you guys go somewhere, they do a cutaway to say, "This is the nicest blank. This is the best hotel in blank." Are you guys being told to say that stuff? Like, how is the travel situation on The Bachelor? You guys flying first class? The
travel was incredible. No, we all fly regular. I don't know about her, but we all fly regular. And we had travel trouble. We missed a flight to Uruguay and ended up having to get stuck in Miami for a night. But our bags went through, so we didn't have any of our stuff. Like
no clothes in Miami. That sounds rough.
Yeah, it's normal travel life. But yeah, there's little plugs in there, and you can imagine why.
All right.
Keep costs down.
So the next episode, is this when you meet JoJo's family?
Yes.
And so you said you watched on Ben's season. Did you see her family on that, or you didn't watch that episode?
I did. Yeah, no, I watched that one. I did see that. Yep.
Are you worried about her brothers?
I was very worried going into it. It's how can I not? All I've seen from them was how they did Ben dirty. Like,
Yeah.
that's all I saw. With that being said, I felt like I could relate more than Ben could. I don't know if I think Ben only has one brother, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I come from. She's the youngest of 5. I'm the oldest of 5. Family's very close, so I felt like I could, plug myself in, and really hit home how much I love their daughter, sister,
Right.
with the family.
I have noticed, because I only watched last season. Ian's been watching these shows, I guess, for a while with his girl, but he got me into it last season. So I watched Ben's season and now this season. I have noticed, and I asked Ian about this, on The Bachelor, when the guy brings, when he goes to the houses, right, all these different girls, I feel like the brothers and the dads, everyone's kind of looking at him like, dude, you're dating all these girls. What's your deal? You know what I mean? There's a little bit of like a out of the side of their eye, like, you little scumbag. Like, what are you doing to my daughter? And then with the guys, when you guys went to, or when you brought JoJo to everyone's parents and family's like, hey, she seems cool. This is fun.
Yeah.
It's like a double
there's
standard.
no double standard there, right?
Yeah.
No, and like I'll speak from my perspective, because people ask me that all the time. Like, how can you develop those feelings knowing that she's kissing and talking to 20 other guys? Well, number one, I fast forward through all the other guys' parts. I only watch mine. This is the Robby show. I only watch my parts.
Oh, that's smart.
But
Smart.
I never even really thought about it, to be honest. Like, it crossed my mind. Yeah. Like I brought it up at the hometowns when I was talking to my brothers. Like, I know she's going on 3 other hometowns this week, and that sucks.
Yeah.
But I like I said, it was tunnel vision. I just kind of kept my eye on the prize and gave JoJo everything I had.
Cool, man. Well, listen, we really appreciate you coming on. We know you can't say too much about what's about to happen, but if there's anything you'd like to promote or anything you'd like to add, if you want to give your social media and everything, go for it.
Yeah, sure. The final episode is going to be good. I mean, this whole season hasn't disappointed. That won't be any different. Jordan and I, regardless of what happens, we still talk every week. We're boys. And the scenery is going to be incredible. Her outfits are going to be incredible. And it'll be good. Everyone tune in. And you can find me on Instagram, RobertHunter89, Snapchat, Robby Hayes. So I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, man.
Hey, man, we appreciate your time. We'd love to hear about life after the show once these final couple episodes air, I guess. And,
yeah, let's touch base a couple weeks.
Definitely, man. We'll chat soon.
Thanks,
all right,
Robby.
man.
We appreciate it.
Take care.
Jeff and I are doggy dads, which is why we're so excited to be partnering with our newest sponsor, Puppies Make Me Happy. They have a super simple mission to make the happiest clothes on earth, which they do. And we know our listeners will love this brand just as much as we do. Plus, we're excited to help spread a little happiness ourselves by offering listeners 20% off all merchandise by using discount code ENG. That's EANDG at checkout. Make sure to follow them on Instagram at Puppies Make Me Happy. After all, what's better than a feed full of cute puppy pics, right?